Good evening, Steelers. How's everybody out there? God, there's a lot of you in already blabbing away in chat. I'll get to that in one moment or two. How's tricks? Everybody, are we all happy? There's a good few of you in. Let's just say hello to people first of all. Who we got in here? We got Aled, we got Duke, we got Aled. I think I've lost your first. Unfortunately, I've lost your first. Oh no, John, hello. Who else we got? Yellow Wargaming, hello. Carl, hello. And that's it for now. So, yeah, tonight I kind of asked a question really at the start of this, and I pinned it to the top of the thing, so you can go back to it. And this, I guess, hasn't come out of nowhere. I'll repeat it for you. Tonight's question is: how would you go about writing a set of rules, and what approaches would you take? We're going to talk about this tonight, so I'm going to talk about it at least anyway, because this hasn't come out of nowhere. Let's just say that. Hello, Charles. Creek Road Factorum. Evening. Big topic for tonight, I see. Hi, Kev. Good to have you on board. So, yeah, I'm not going to go through everybody's ones in chat because there's a lot here. But you can kind of all see what they are. I'll come back to some of these, I think, a little bit. I mean, there's some good ones already. I mean, John said about picking your period. Then look at what's already out there for that period. And unless you can offer something unique, don't do it. Your friend who writes rules, keeping them down to 2 pages. That's what Duke says. And he says they change rules. Alad, you are saying you like something to become instinctive, for example, the kick cock to hit scores, for example. Yeah, I mean, that's something I'm going to come back to in a minute, because I think that's something that's very well worthwhile talking about. And they should be explained with relevant diagrams or example videos to aid understanding. I don't know what you're talking about. Decide how complex you want the game to be and the average time to play. Yeah, I mean, that's a fair point. And of course, as John says, don't forget to hit the like button, folks. Carl says the short answer is don't. I don't know why, Carl. Is that something you've got against writing rules, or what? Somebody's got to write them. I mean, do you have to decide if you're willing to put yourself out there? There is that as well. But that's also to do with putting anything out, really, isn't it, these days? Young lang to be in, hell don't. How if I was to do my own rules, I would start with an already published set I like and adapt them at adding and changing what you want. Yeah, I think that's generally the easiest way to go down it, isn't it? Andy Sykes, hello. Jeffrey Smith's here. Simpler rules are better. Trending more towards narrative type games, normally small to medium skirmish, small to medium skirmish, very much inspired the Grant Featherstone rules. Absolutely, I 100% agree with that. Sorry, Tiny's just behind me licking her bum. I kind of guess there may be a motive for this question. Well, there is, and I'll explain what it is. Evening, Terry. Before we go on, I was watching Rich Clark's live stream from last Thursday. I missed it live because I was at the club. I was playing Dave Benson's ACW game, which was great. I talked about it in the last my last hobby updates. If you've watched that. And it was good. It was. I don't play ACW generally. I don't. It's not a period I'm interested in. I'd have zero knowledge of it, of the war itself, or any of those things. But it was a good game. Really enjoyed it. There was some really nice little bits and pieces. It's that term 28. I should ban that from here. Give you a red card, John. And Tiny's joined us, and. So I was watching Richard's live stream. Sorry, I'm kind of got distracted there. And he'd mentioned, somebody had asked in his live stream about the First World War Chain of Command, which we played a very, very small game of when I went down to Lord Island. Creek Road Factorium. For me, the inspiration comes from clearing issues in existing rule sets. An example, command friction, as well as what initiative really is, are a couple of big ones for me, and that's fair enough, yeah. And Richard mentioned, somebody had asked about the First World War supplement of Chain of Command, which there is already an existing one, which is cocking up, but Richard actually said quite expressly, he said, if Alex, was interested in developing something, then I should go for it. So I sent him a message and said, were you serious about that? And he said yes, he was. He said he'd neither the time nor the inclination at the moment to do something with it, which is a bit of a shame because, you know, he's a good writer and I like his rules. So it got me thinking. I've been thinking about it since last Thursday, really, just about, you know, the last time I wrote a set of wargaming rules, and I say a set, the last time I put pen to paper was I made a game based around Vikings and Viking excursions, but it was a deck builder game. So it's a bit like what's the name of it, Dominion, and some of those other deck building games that are available these days. And it was basically, you know, I was pretty much using existing mechanics, but just putting basically a Viking skin over it. Prior to that, I think it was possibly another Viking game I wrote years ago, and I can't remember the name of it for the life of me, but it was Hi Red Steph. But it was what I wanted to factor into those rules in particular was fatigue and tiredness, and this is like long before Saga was a thing, and they have fatigue rules in there, because I'd read a lot of the sagas, and the sagas that were talking about how men got tired after fighting, and I was read, and it was also in Paddy Griffiths' The Art of War, Viking Art of War, and I was trying to work out how you get those kind of rules into a game, you know, to so that you don't just go at it, you know, for like 6 turns, hell for leather, because you physically get tired. So how do you you know, deal with that kind of thing? And that was years ago. I mean, we're talking like, this was when I was at university, so probably about 20 years ago. And then the last ones that I remember were a set of rules called the Roaring Twenties. Can you guess what they were based on? Yes, gangsters. And that was kind of, it was a very, very basic, because a friend of mine kept a copy of it and actually sent it to me a while back, and I put it I think I put it on Patreon as a post a while back. So if you go through my Patreon, it's free for everybody, so you can go and have a look for it. You don't need to be a Patreon to find it, just scroll back through all the old posts. But there's a very, very, very basic set of what are pretty awful gangster game rules. Because I had no idea about writing rules, so I've never really written rules in you know, in any. Like I say, when I was a kid, I used to, because I couldn't be bothered to read actual rules. I used to make my own rules. So my Second World War wargaming rules were all kind of you know, just whatever I thought at the time, mostly based at the time off Warhammer 40k, but using D10s instead of D6s, but still having, you know, lots of stats and that kind of thing. So I've been thinking about it, this proposition that Rich kind of came up with. It's not really a proposition, it was a suggestion more than anything else. And I was thinking, well, the thing is with a Great War Chain of Command, you're kind of already working off something that you've got. And Des Darkin actually mentioned this over on X, or Twitter as we all still call it. And he said, you know, when if you take existing mechanics from a rule, when does it actually become a new game, or is it just a reskinned game? Now, arguably, Two Fat Lardies games, a lot of those, there's a lot of follow through in all of them, except in areas where it really, really matters. So, for example, what I mean is the firing and the close combat are pretty similar in most Two Fat Lardies games, because they work. So why change them? You know, you don't need to change them. Evening, Steve. You don't need to change them. So why bother changing them? You know, with a few tweaks here and there for the period. So, for example, you know, firing arrows is going to be different to firing a bolt action rifle. So those are the, you know, there's changes there. But it's the other things in say, for instance, Chain of Command, where you've got the command dice, or in Short Practice where you've got the cards, and they match the period more so, you know, particularly that the game is supposed to be set. And I think, you know, that's the clever part of it. It's that, you know, how do you where does that bit come in? The rest of it kind of slots in. And arguably, although the fisticuffs and the closer combat rules in Chain of Command and Short Practice are very, very similar. If you played one, you'll recognise it and be able to play it easily in another game. They are different enough, even in Mike Blake, they're different enough to make the games very different, and I think that's a good thing. But it also means that you've also already got a basis of rules that you can just build the rest of it around, because they're still men fighting men, aren't they? Or just men fighting men, but just in different periods, really. So it's more to do with the tactics and things. Red says, talking of cock, are we using vanilla rules at cock 4 as the house rules you want to use? No house rules, Steph. It's just going to be vanilla because I know it's a lot of people's first time playing it. There's no point piling stuff on. I want people to be able to play the game as though they've got it out of the book, basically. You buy the book, this is what you've got. And now, not having actually played Chain of Command, the biggest thing I can see being an oddity is how the patrol phase needs to change to reflect trenches and bunkers, etc. Yes, exactly. These are some of the things. I mean, evening, Andy. Good to have you on board. Evening, other Andy. Good to have you on board. Roll on the weekend. Colours 2023. I wish I was going, but it's too far away for me. Colours, unfortunately, Mike. Enjoy it though. Yes, I mean, the thing with Chain of Command, First World War and Second World War Chain of Command are going to be very simple. A Lee Enfield rifle in 1917 is pretty much the same as a Lee Enfield rifle in 1944. They're just different marks. They're probably easier to manufacture, and that's probably about as much as the difference, which has no effect whatsoever on the battlefield. You're still firing at a certain rate, you're still firing at a certain range, still firing at certain people, just with different helmets on. So yeah, the thing is with doing a Great War Chain of Command, and this is the reason I wanted to ask the question, is you've already got that basis. Movement, it's already done, it's in Chain of Command. Firing table is pretty much already done. I'd make a few changes, things like I would add the jamming rules that you get in Through the Mud and the Blood, for example. Identify the key concepts you think encapsulate the period, and then how those might be reflected in mechanisms. Yes, exactly, Andy. That's another good point. It's more about the period flavour, I think, than the actual base rules, because they should be relatively simple. And then you don't want it to feel as though it's just going to be a bolt on, do you? So this is why I'm asking, where do you start really? Where does it begin? What approaches do you take? I mean, do you just sit down and write a wish list of all the things that you want to see in the game? Because obviously with Chain of Command, First World War, Great War, you would have things like cavalry. You'd be silly to not have cavalry in there. You'd have tanks, obviously, armoured vehicles and other vehicles. So you'd have that an extra layer in what you don't have in Chain of Command. You'd also have, this is the thing I've been trying to think about, is artillery. How does artillery work? With a few tweaks, O Group could probably be used for World War One. Again, Steph, this is something that I've put a lot of thought into. I've never written anything down. I wonder how cock would work 14-16. I've got a lot of early war figures. It'd work, Mike, but I think it'd be very vanilla because everybody's armed with a rifle. 16, you're starting to get Lewis guns and bombs. From 15 onwards, you're starting to get bombs. 14, very vanilla. 15 onwards, you're getting less and less. 16 onwards, that's when the war gets interesting. 1917, of course, as everybody knows, is the most interesting year of the war. DD says, maybe emphasise the difficulty of movement with more granular movement, things like mud, wire, trenches. Yeah, exactly, stuff like that. Is iron being shot on mobile scale to think about? Well, there's already Vor Abteilung, but that already exists. Sturmabteilung Vor, sorry. It exists as a game, but then also so does Cocking Up the Mud and the Blood. They both exist as games, and they are just basically quick fixes. Let me get back to the O Group thing. The thing with the O Group is there is no reflection in the First World War for the combat patrols. Now this is the issue. Now what I've thought about O Group is, and I know Rich has also thought about this because we've had a couple of chats about this via email, and it's really, if you look at, you'd either, I think you'd have to take it up a level from battalion, you'd go up a level to brigade, more so, because, or even corps, because that's the point where they are dishing out the assets. And this is where it becomes important in the First World War, where the artillery assets are going and things. You know, they're not given out at battalion level; they're given out at a much higher level. And what I thought is a way of in O Group, you have your company lines and lanes that you go down. Now, if you look at any divisional attack plans for the First World War, they are basically just in lines, and each of the divisions has its own area in which it operates. So something like that would work very well, and I think it would work very well on a grid system. But then you're getting very, very, very far away from actually an O Group itself. You know, it is something I put a lot of thought into on this, because you'd need to have artillery in. If you're up at that level, you'd need to have rolling barrages or hurricane barrages or Chinese barrages, or all those bits and pieces. You'd be looking at having trench lines in as well as you're attacking over those. I mean, obviously by 18 it's different, so it's a completely different war anyway. So that would be a little bit more like the Second World War version of O Group. But then you're thinking, then you're kind of putting it really, really, really small and microscope down if you're doing it from a historical point of view. So O Group is something I've certainly thought a lot about, and I think it would, taking the core idea of the game itself. I'm supposed to be painting tonight. It's supposed to be a paint and chat. It would be. I think it would. You'd really have to rework the game completely. There's loads of stuff you could use out of it, like the firing and the close combat and all that kind of stuff, that you could quite easily just lift almost wholesale. But it's the use of the combat patrols is the thing that is slightly different. What we're saying, Jeff Smith says, would First World War concentrate on Western Front or other theatres? Well, my interest, Jeffrey, would be immediately the Western Front, because that is where the war was fought and won. There are other theatres, obviously, but I think you'd have to expand those into supplements or add-ons, or even pint-sized campaigns and things. Again, this is a very, very, because it would just become very unwieldy. It's the same way that Chain of Command concentrates very much on 1944, but then it has everything else. Then people make up the rules for everything else. And the pint-sized campaigns cover the other areas, and the supplements cover the 1940 and the Far East and things. So, from keeping it in check, I think it would have to be the Western Front. Carl says, would Rommel be a better base model for the rules? And yes, possibly. I mean, that works on a grid, and it is a great game. And again, Rommel is a great game as well. But I think there's just something lacking in Rommel, which is that friction. I do like it, but I think it could be a little bit better. But yes, I think that's the kind of thing I was thinking, or square bashing as well. What we're saying, beyond SOS artillery and things like trench mortars, can you just abstract the artillery bombardments? Yeah, I mean, you could do before pre-game bombardments, like in I Ain't Be Shot Mum. You get stonks and things like that. You also do as well in Through the Mud and the Blood. So a lot of the stuff could be lifted quite easily from Through the Mud and the Blood with just a bit of reworking. Creek Road says, I'm trying to construct a biplane game on the basis of the fact that I really want initiative skill in individual pilots way better than it does in any. Creek Road, just look on my channel for Algae. Algae pulls it off again. You free download, go and get it from my thing. There you go. There's the game for you. It's all about pilot skill. Rest of the rules, well, they would have to be bolted onto the initiative action. It's a card-driven activation, and if you have a better pilot, they get more chances to activate. What level you're looking at the set of the rules at? What level command the player? Well, for Chain of Command, it would be platoon level, because again, that is the most interesting part. really. How about random card activation for field artillery? You may get it, may not reflect the decisions made by higher levels, which would not always be clear at the time to units on the ground. Yes, possibly, or you could have some kind of like chit bidding system, as in playing Leapfrog, which is another game which has some great ideas, but is so badly written I've never actually read it all the way through it. Definitely some resource management aspect to controlling artillery. You know, you have to get when to use it is key. Yes, exactly. So again, like a kind of a chit system, but this is more of a, you know, the higher level of game. It's kind of derailed completely into talking about First World War games. On a cock table, artillery is too much. Medium mortars on the World War II version are unrealistic because of the ground scale and danger close areas. Maybe an expansion of pre-game bombardments. Well, the thing is, you say that, Andy, but a lot of units ran into their own artillery bombardments, such as the Irish 36th Division on the first day of the Somme, for example. So, you know, not particularly unrealistic. I have a hankering to do the entire front for the Battle of the Somme using O Group now. It would work, I think, Red Steph, if you really took it up to that army level, took it up to corps level, for sure it would work. And I think you could probably do it. You could quite easily, you know, each unit could be a brigade. It doesn't have to be, you know, a battalion or anything. And I think that's the, you know, that's the point, isn't it? There, it's that overall look at it. And obviously, in the First World War, the command levels are much higher up because of the communication issues that they didn't have so much in the Second World War. Jeff says maybe an idea to concentrate on one period of World War One to make it best use. Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean, Jeffrey. I think, you know, there's no point me doing tons of research into the Russian front if nobody's ever going to use the Russians. You know, that'll be better done as a completely separate, you know, supplement afterwards, I think. Attacker jobs could be covered abstractly by previous night trench raids, defender jobs as in-game reinforcement movements. Yeah, and also, I mean, jobs for attackers would easily be saps, for example, because they were dug out to you know, into no man's land again. The Irish 36th battalion division did this on the Somme. They dug what were called Russian saps, which were basically covered tunnels. They crawled through those and got out into no man's land in the long grass, and then ran at the Germans, as I said before, getting caught up in their artillery barrage. So yeah, you know, things like that is quite easy to abstract, and also a shell damaged landscape is going to lend you a lot of cover to get forward. That bit, yeah, I mean, you know, I'm not so fussed about. What you would do though, with like in Cocking Up the Mud and the Blood, if you've got trench defences on there, the defender would probably have at least one or two of their jumping off points within the trenches themselves, or maybe on the entrance points to the battlefield at the back. You know, so this is units filtering through. You know, if you've got a trench going off the back of the battlefield. Undaughter World War One to be interested. Yeah, I'm hoping they're going to do it, Andy. I really do, because that would be fantastic. And even better if they did First World War aircraft. Evening, James. Yeah, it's melting here in Rotherham as well. Not as bad as on the film Threads. So yeah, there's so as I say, that was the question for tonight, really. But my question is not so much about, you know, construction of the rules, because that's relatively simple. The construct your trenches from terrain tiles like in Mighty Empires. You can dig in as you push forward. The you know, how do you write a set of rules from scratch, even though maybe you've already got that underlying idea of you know, you've got that there are things, concepts and mechanics that are already existing that you don't need to deal with. Do you just write a wish list of everything that you want in there and then slowly tick it off as you work things out? Do you start small and then just add things in as you go along, you know, as things occur to you? You know, what's the best way of doing this? Anybody who's written any rules, then, you know, let me know, because, as I say, I've never written any myself, and I very, very rarely tinker with any rules that are published anyway. Very, very rare. I think the last ones we tinkered with were probably rapid fire, really. where we are, Jeff says, to reflect the basic communications compared to World War II, some form of pre-game table to determine support and other available resources along the lines of AK-47. Yeah, that'd be my idea. Rather than choosing your support, you're actually given it, so you don't really have so much of a choice of it. It is just what is available. So, for example, tanks, a lot of them broke down before they even get to the front. That might be the answer to pre-bombardment, removal of defender combat patrols or displacement to positions further from line. That's a good idea. Instead of actually doing it, it just disrupts the enemy. Find some like-minded peeps to throw some ideas around with. What am I doing tonight, Andy? That's exactly what I'm doing. There's 30 of you here. Give me answers. Was the first thing would be clearly define the command level and model count. Well, I already know that, but yes. Mine sprung from an idea of what I wanted to portray in my rules, and went from there. I adjusted and changed the rules as time and playtest went along. Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously, things always need to be playtested and playtested to death before you can do anything else. I think the sensible approach is to do both. Start small and add stuff as the wish list you come up with them. Yeah, and the way, I suppose that way you could you can just playtest it anyway. But talking about the specific example here, by the way, hit that like button. 15 likes and 29 people watching. I already know how Chain of Command works. I already know how Chain of Command First World War works because I played it, and there's actually a video coming along in the next couple of weeks, so keep an eye out for that, of a battle report. And so I know how the game works, but it's still very much Chain of Command Second World War with the First World War skin, the cocking up the mud and the blood. As great a game as it is, there are some slight differences in there. And yeah, I mean, I'd have to sit down and go through various ideas, things like through the mud and the blood, and pick stuff out of that and say, yeah, that would work, that wouldn't. I've always liked the idea of having random support. Will it turn up? And if it does, it might not be what you want. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that can show the chaos of the fighting as well sometimes. I mean, obviously, you do get a chance to at least call on support in the area, but it depends on whether that support is actually existing in the area or not. So I think that's it's a good idea. It makes the communication level a bit more apparent, really, or lack of communication. Take it we talk about 15mm platoon level 1 model weapons on one man. Well, I play it in 15mm, Carl, but it'd be like 28mm because it looks nice. Everybody knows 28mm stuff, but Chain of Command is 15mm ground scale, so yes, it would basically be, if I were to write it tomorrow, it would basically be Chain of Command as is, but obviously with the First World War. So just think of it as, one man is one unit. There's already things like what's it called, square bashing, which is battalion level. There's already Great War Spearhead where it's divisional level, corps level, or whatever. I think an important aspect of rules writing is kill your darlings. Don't hang too much mechanic systems in the rules because you really want that thing. Playability is more important in the end. Absolutely, yeah, I agree with that. Marie would be a good proofreader as before the old group game at CrackCon. She had never rolled a dice. You managed to explain it brilliantly, so if Marie understands you roll you onto a winner, good stuff. I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad she enjoyed herself as well. Is she coming on to CrackCon 4, Alid? I would decide what you want your rules to represent and then choose or develop the systems getting there. 10mm as well. That's not what I've got. Yeah, I promise you, John, it would work at 10mm. Make use of a cock dice to inflict friendly fire on an opponent. Yeah, I mean, that's one thing as well. I mean, this was something that Richard put into the Great War rule, Chain of Command Great War that we played, was that where you have, with a Chain of Command dice, you build it up to 6 and then you can spend it. In the Great War version, you can actually spend those 1 to 5 points on specific things, and they were more geared to the particular nation. So the British, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head because he just had notes basically, but the British had the Fields of Eton, and it was, you could spend a Chain of Command point, not a dice, a point, and then you get an extra d6 movement. But obviously that's knocking your chain of command dice down, so you've still got to build it back up. So it was like little things like that, like you might be able to add an extra fire, you know, an extra shot, an extra d6 into the firing for every point you spelled. But if you spent a full chain of command dice, then you kept the artillery barrage going, or you stopped the artillery barrage, or you know, you could disrupt the enemy, or you could end the turn, or all those things that you can do. And I know Richard said that he was he was talking about this on his live stream. He was saying that he's moving more towards spending chain of command points rather than chain of command dice. And that would be something, you know, that would be something I think would be worth exploring, because then it'll make it different enough from chain of command as it stands, to you know, to give you a little bit more leeway and more decisions as well. Because, you know, I like, and he says, if cog's the basis, then you just have to compromise and accept you might be able to squeeze everything in you want. Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've got to think about it from a practical point of view. You can't have a week-long bombardment in chain of command, can you? Well, you could, but it wouldn't be a particularly interesting game. So there's things like that, and that, to me, that's where the complexity comes from. The complexity of the mechanics of the rules. There, here, nor there. I mean, you know, it doesn't matter. You need a 4 up to hit if it's less than 18 inch. You need a 5 or a 6 to hit if it's over 18 inch. Simple, nice and easy. That's all you need. You know what I mean? You don't need 3 range bands, because even that's complicated in Through the Mud and the Blood, where it has 3 range bands, and obviously that was refined down in Chain of Command. I like the idea of spending cock-style points as they recruit to allow those keys sooner. Yeah, exactly. And it's giving you that choice of command. It's giving you that the idea as to whether, you know, do you spend them now when you need them, or do you hold on because the need might be more? And this is something that's very much prevalent in board games, but something you don't get a lot in a lot of war games. You know, it's and the rest of, like I said, the rest of the mechanics, you can hold it in your head quite easily. You know, remove either 1d6, 2d6 or 3d6, nice and easy. Yes, Marie is going to CrackCon and even one of the t-shirts to ahead his time. I'll be asking people to buy toys for me using my card while she's distracted. You know, she needs a Storm of Steel t-shirt. So yeah, it's the other bits and pieces. And I think, you know, one major step up from Chain of Command for the First World War would be the use of cavalry, because they were used throughout the war on the Western Front. I'll get Jill to chat to her. You'll have a free reign to shop then. As lot can be scenario driven, yes, exactly. So the week-long bombardment is represented by a weaker opponent, white cut or not, if your shells are cruddy. Yes, exactly. Yes, I mean, there's ways and means around stuff like that. But obviously artillery is such an important aspect of the First World War that to ignore it in the game would be a bit of a fool's errand, because, you know, it pretty much accompanied every single attack, you know, at least down to battalion level. Nothing wrong with the new skin on familiar rules. Vietnam version of COP works well. You will probably sell better as a supplement to core rules owners with only a passing interest in the period. Yeah, potentially, Terry. Steph, you're a star. Yeah, potentially, but you know, there are also other interesting First World War games out there at the moment as well. There seems to be a resurgence in First World War gaming at the moment. A lot of people are looking at it. I mean, that's not, you know, the reason why I would do it, but and also obviously it depends on financial inputs as well, you know, from a Too Fat Lardy's point of view. But it would be something that, you know, if I was going to work on it, I'd want it to be available. At least sell it through the channel, if nothing else. So yeah, that was kind of the reason for the question tonight. So a long one. Drop in an email and get in to sneak in the car while you're gaming, Alad. There you go. There's you've solved it there, Alad. So yeah, that was like that's what I was saying. Because I've just been kind of thinking about it really. I just wanted to kind of get me thoughts into a bit of into a straight line as much as anything else. Because I know it's a hell of a lot of work, having spoken to John Savage about it with What a Cowboy, you know, writing and rewriting and play testing and rewriting and replay testing, etc., etc. So, you know, it's not it's a it's something you'd kind of want to invest a lot of time in. But I just wondered what's the best way about investing that time, rather than spending a year muddling through nothing. Is it better just to write down a load of some things and then just go from there? Teamwork makes the dream work. Absolutely. Anyway, everybody, tell me what you're painting tonight. What I was supposed to be painting tonight, I'll tell you, is actually 4 crack gone for. These are British big men and a few extra rifles as well. I got these from Peter Pig, and I was just painting these up. These have been agrax and they were dried earlier in the heat, so I was actually going to do some highlights on these. So I'll crack on with that, I think. So at least I can get something done tonight, otherwise I'll have to finish them off tomorrow night. Good plan. I like the core mechanics of a war game. You don't like, you can think about how I'd improve it. I'd change the activation to cards and add in the extra senior junior leaders along with adding platoon structures. Well, that's just through the mud and the blood, isn't it? You've already got that game. It's already done. So, yeah, what's everybody else up to this evening? What are we all playing? Painting, not playing, on this hottest of hot days. I can't believe this bloody weather in September. And I've been, speaking of mud and blood, I've spent the last couple of nights recording a game of it. I managed to get it edited earlier on, so it's up and ready to be released. But my God, it was hot on Sunday. I was ready to. I was going to start early in the morning, and it just got too hot to even get up here. So I just went and sat in the car, sat and read in the garden instead. Your paints should be painting for COG CC4 when painting some Victory at Sea Japanese. Hey folks, long time no see. You want to be painting, messing about making your own dark brown wash. It's getting a bit messy. Painting some zombies for Zombicide. Son-in-law is too lazy. 15mm Gepids for some DBM basing. Don't know what they are. Painting a Riftforge Orc Storm Giant for Kings of War. Working my way through the Arnhem Kickstarter. Okay. Well, a nice mix there of every flavour under the sun. So yeah, probably tonight I think I'll probably only get the flesh painted on these, but we'll see how we go. I just want to do the highlights on them. As I say, I'd already agraxed everything. But yes, it was an interesting proposition when Richard suggested it. I just thought, well, why not? Basically, what do you lose if nothing comes of it? Just a bit of time and a bit of messing about, and just to see how things work and see how other stuff works, and just give it a test. It's something I've never done before. No painting again tonight. We'll be moving stuff from the soon to be trashed second bathroom to a new completed main bathroom. Nice. Should be painting Republican Rome Cav for a game on Thursday, but actually painting 3D printed Burgundian longbow. Very nice. Yeah, I'm also painting these for Thursday night's game of I Ain't Been Shot Mum. I needed 5 big men, 5 British big men, which I just didn't have, so I bought a bunch from Peter Pig. So I've got more big men and leaders now than I'll ever need, so I'll use these for I Ain't Been Shot Mum and for Chain of Command, and that's why I'm painting them, to get them finished off Thursday night. So a couple of new guys coming down to the club. I've offered them a game along with some of the old lags. Where else we at? Wim VDB says currently building some plastic Victrix Vikings, listing some sable on eBay on painted 50mm ancient figures and Oxford diecast 133rd. There's either a snake on the shelf behind you, or is it Tiny's tail? That will be Tiny's tail, I think. Gepids, East Gothic civilization that popped up and disappeared about 500. Okay. Client state to Attila, eternally son after the death. Okay, never heard of them. Well, 28mm Indian Army troops from Malaya, World War II. Good man. Love a bit of Malaya. We'll be doing some more Turnip 28 tonight stuff, but run out of tufts. Yes, it is. That's Tiny's tail up there. The cats are dead from the sun. Bless them. It's too hot for them both. Tiny likes the heat more than Fatty does, but she still gets a bit overawed by it. Bless her little cotton socks. She's been out on the roof as well today. Don't tell my wife, because she goes mad at me for allowing her out there. I open the loft window and she goes jumping out. Bless. So I'm just doing a few highlights here. The problem is this needs concentration. So that question sparked off a lot of conversation in chat and also from me. Is that something you'd like to see more in the future? If we did a hobby chat and we did it round a little bit like the PCP guys do, but just with an evening question, something we can discuss about the hobby. Don't know whether it's worthwhile doing. I mean, tonight's actually had a reason for it, and thanks to you lot, I have got a bit of a tighter idea about things. It's sometimes good to get this stuff out. Trying to finish your US Infantry 44 platoon. Okay. Well, good luck with that, Carl. Is that 28mm? I'm guessing. Painting 2 boxes of plastic soldier company early war Germans for Kalk to fight against your early Dutch army. Yes, the discussion was good. Yes, I think it was. Okay, I'm just getting a data warning that I've used 2 gigs of my data of 125 gig. I'm actually tonight, you might be getting a better stream tonight because I am using my mobile phone as a hotspot. What's a hotspot not? Instead of going through the crappy internet booster that we got downstairs, I'm just using the phone as a hotspot instead, just as an experiment, and it seems to be working. I don't think I have any lag or anything on the thing. However, obviously, it uses data. These fellas. What I'm going to do as well on the base of these ones, I'm going to paint their numbers. Yeah, 28mm for bolt action. Oh, Carl, we've been talking about chain of command and you bring that up. Oh, can be nice for a change. But as you found, you don't get a painting done. Yeah, well, there's no problem with the internet tonight. Good stuff. Yeah, I guess well, to be honest, these painting chats, I rarely would get a lot of painting done because I'm concentrating on talking, and if you're talking, it's either you sit here with me in silence, paint as a paint, or I talk, and if I talk, I can't concentrate on the painting. So it's a bit of a lose-lose situation for me anyway. So what I normally use these for is like undercoating figures or something that's very simple and basic to do that you don't really have to put a lot of thought into. I've kind of scuppered my own plans by going and doing highlighting on these this time round, but yeah, so I don't know, a good half-hour chat about something. I thought it was alright. There's worse. Anyway, still, again, 31 of you watching, only 20 likes. Hit the like button. You could unlike it and like it again if you wanted. You could even hit the dislike button. Even that works. Even that helps those algorithms. So those people that are disliking my What a Cowboy videos at the moment, even you are helping my my algorithms. Get it done. It's surprisingly hard to talk in hobby, never mind as you and I have streamed. Yeah, it's almost impossible, like I say, unless you're doing something nice and simple, which highlighting isn't. But to be fair, it's not going to take me a long time anyway to do these, so I'll probably come back and finish these off later on this evening anyway, just to get them done and out of the way, because I'm not going to I wasn't going to be spray painting them anyway on stream, because I'll need to get some ventilation and stuff in here, so I wasn't going to do that now. Should be working on 6mm Napoleonic Russians, but you've been building up some Cold War finish instead. What scale Cold War finish? I hope they're not too cold. But I suppose it does get quite cold in Finland. And I've got a friend who's moved up there from Ireland, and he's been taking photos of the local wildlife, and it's like they're surrounded by bears and all sorts of things up there. Brilliant pictures, but scary Mary beasts up there. There we go. That's the last of the faces done. Like I say, I've even started on these French that have been sitting on the bench for about a week as well. I need to get them finished. I'll get them done this week. I'm just not sure when. But yeah, I want to get those finished. There's no desperate rush on those ones. The new 15mm that Battlefront released. Oh, okay. Oh yeah, for Team Yankee, didn't they? Why the F would you dislike a video? If it's not your cup of tea, then don't watch it. Yeah, I get you, John. I get you. People do. People do. There's plenty of them. I'm fairly sure this probably will get some downvotes. A lot of these live streams get downvotes. It's only, you know, 1 or 2. It's only a tiny amount, but you know, it still happens. But yeah, it's just weird. You know, yeah, it is what it is. Like I say, you know, it's not even worth the while of hitting that button. But helps the algorithms anyway, so it doesn't really matter. They work as pretty much as positively for you as negatively. Right, let's do a quick uniform highlights. I really like these Peter Pig figures. They're really nicely sculpted. These are the newer sculpts, and you can tell that because they're a little bit thinner than the older ones. I mean, I don't know how many of them have been re-sculpted, but these ones are really nice. Full of flavour, and they fit really well with the Battlefront stuff as well, so they won't stand out. But because these are big men and leaders, I put them on pennies, so they're on slightly bigger bases, so they're going to be easier to spot on the table. They just stand out a little bit more. And it's the Peter Pig platoon and company commander sets that I got, if anybody's wondering. What do you say, Red Steph? It's like phoning a chat show to say, I don't know. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like when somebody asks a question online or something and somebody inevitably says, I don't know. It took you longer to type that reply than it would have done just to scroll past. Hilarious. So Steph, you're playing in the Chain of Command game at CrackCon, aren't you? That's you're in the afternoon session, I think. There's quite. I think Aled, I think you're in it, aren't you, as well? I can't remember. John is in it. I think most people who are watching are actually, and Kev's in one of them as well. I can't remember who's in which session, but yeah, it's just going to be. I know, John, you thought I'd given it away by painting this concrete tower for this concrete tower for Singapore, but it's actually that's for a separate game. I'm not doing the jungle for Chain of Command because it is a beast of a game. Even if you played Chain of Command quite a lot, it's bloody hard. It's does not take any prisoners, I'll tell you that. The Japanese have a pretty good run, at least in the early days. So you don't, excuse me, I don't want anybody to get curb stomped. It's just going to be a basic Northwest Europe, British versus Germans. Kevin says, John says in the morning sesh, Kev's in the morning, Rich M. I think you have the afternoon session too. Thought it was in the morning, but don't really mind. You might be right. I can't remember which way around it is. Did you make it to Ebor last weekend? Oh, I don't even start on that, Andy. We meet again. No, I didn't, unfortunately, Andy. I was booked in to go. I'd paid my money. Everything was ready. And then Mrs. Steele said that she needed a lift to Manchester Airport because she got her dates mixed up. And instead of going to Luton, she was going to Manchester. If she'd have been going to Luton, she'd have gone down to her sister's and gone from there. But no, she was going from Manchester. So I had to cancel. And I was playing on Al Seward's Chain of Command board as well, the medical crossroads. So I was mightily annoyed by that, and still am. But in good news at least, Neil Hepworth took my place. I like Neil, he's a nice guy, so it went to a good place at least, and he looked like he had a good game out of it, so happy days. But yes, I would have gone. So John's got to change it or for future. And there you go. What did you guys play before then, Steph and Rich? Somebody wants to check on the PCP page just to check what the timings are, and let me know. Curb stomping is fine. Play Battle of the Bulgars Americans vs Camp Crew Piper with earlier this year. Yeah, it's not much fun. It's your first time you played it though, is it? You don't learn much from it. I had to take the mother-in-law to hospital. Yeah, so were you signed up for it as well then, Andrew? But you had to cancel. Given it's on Trafalgar Day and Cap 4, put yourself down for that. Space Weirdos in the morning, Chain of Command in the afternoon. Okay, good stuff. It should be fun. I'm looking forward to that curry buffet place again. That was great. That was a cracking place. It's all you can eat is a challenge, isn't it? Not an offer. That's what I always think. Ian does pop on a cracking Trafalgar game. I put a Chain of Command game at Trackthon, but it was at Crackthon. I think it was, and we've been in the same game ever since. I was about to say then curry that evening. Yeah. I've got the sign off, so yes, I'll be there for the curry. I wasn't sure if it was a bridge too far, but yes, it's all right. I make my wife sound like a tyrant. She's not really. So, failing family illnesses or any other emergencies, I will be there. Oh, Franco-Prussian War game. Ah, there you go. Yes, that one. Blood and something, was it? Blood and Snot or whatever it's called. Sorry, just slightly concentrating here while I'm just putting these on. I'm not. My microphone hasn't gone off. It's still on. Hopefully you can hear me. Just trying to get these done because I've still got the webbing and stuff to do on them as well anyway. Is my wife going to crack on? Surely you jest. Oh, she wouldn't touch it with a barge pole. I may be able to convince her to come for a curry, but getting to Derby at that time of night might be a bit of an issue, but I could certainly ask her, at least. But yes, my wife coming to a wargaming event, poof, not a chance. A board gaming event, yes, there's probably better luck at that, but No, not Wargaming. It's a shame, really, but you know, that's the way it is. Not even for the socials. Well, you know, like I say, I might convince her. Subject to the vagaries of the British Airways and Northern Rail transfer. Now I'll be there for Friday. Yeah, I'll not be there for the Friday, I'm afraid, John, but I'll certainly be there on Saturday. On Saturday morning. I was going to bring along my new Normandy painted farm as well, so that's going to be probably the centrepiece of the table. I might even get the old Fat Frank hedges out as well. Yeah, like I said, I can certainly ask her if she wants to come along for the socials and stuff, but she might just want the evening to herself. And who can blame her? To be fair, I never thought Jill would play, and now she paints her own figures. Wow. Well, Claire has almost. She once mentioned painting the figures from Mansions of Madness when she saw that our mate had painted hers and how good they looked. So she might be convinced. But I don't think we'd ever catch her painting 15mm French First World War. Not anytime soon, anyway. What paints what figures does Jill paint? Does she is it historical stuff, Steph, or is she more fantasy or sci-fi? So I can imagine Claire being more into the fantasy stuff than anything else. Fewer guns, basically. Took 40 years though. Your other half designs and paints the scenery for Starship Troopers games. Well, there you go, perfect. A marriage made in heaven. What more do you want? I guess that's a game based on a film, isn't it, really? Again, it's slightly different, isn't it? It's all about the context. Right, look, I've got these guys painted up to a point. So what I'm going to do here is, how long have we been at it? Well, we've just been an hour. You only do historical, so there's not a lot of option. Good man. Man after my own heart. What I'll do is I'll finish up here. That's been a good hour. I'm going to finish off the rest of the painting on these myself now, because there's just a little bit more. Late, I've been busy. Well, mind you, David's just turned up. Should we have a vote? Should I finish off the green? Or should I finish now? Vote now. Let me know. Shall I finish off the webbing? Because that's all they pretty much need, is just some webbing done on them, and then they just need varnishing. So, yes to carry on, no to stop. It's over to you. And hit the like button as well while you're at it. I'll just give you a couple of minutes to think about it, because obviously it needs to catch up. 1 more hour. Whew. I'm tired already. Keep painting. Look at them. Just trying to keep me going. You swines. Finish it. Finish the green. Get them done. Green, yes, yes. Alright. You asked for it. We'll carry on. Right, so olive drab it is. That's enough people to say yes. So there we go. We'll give it a go and we'll see how far I'll get these done, and then they are done. They'll need spraying and basing, but the bases are very simple. It's just doing them in flock, so I can do those tomorrow night anyway when I've finished work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the big bits of webbing first, and then I will come back and do all the small bits like the so I'll do all the packs and stuff now, and then I'll come back and do all the lines of the. Oh no, sorry, let's do it. He says yes as well. The man say yes, so we have to do it. Give them what they want. That's what they say, innit? Alternative, you could leave them wanting more. And they're putties. So that's the first 3 done. I did hit the like button. Good man. Well, some people have disappeared. They obviously realised they didn't want it. They'll be the people hitting the dislike button. They didn't want it to continue on. But yeah, like I said, it's the 15mm. They don't take very long to paint anyway. 24 figures here. I've done these over. They only arrived yesterday. I got them based up. Bread and circuses, indeed. That's good. I just finished the field grey and the helmets, and now going to start the flesh. Nice. Alex, did I hear that mention you had something to do with the new Osprey game, A War Transformed? No, I didn't. I was joking. Dom was poking me with it. He said I'd be all over it, and I joked that I was a historical advisor for it because it's not a historical game. I do have a review copy of it because I'm on Osprey's review list, and they sent a review copy out of it. I'm not going to do a review of it though, because it wouldn't be a very charitable review, I don't think. It will probably just be half an hour of me just screaming, why though? So there you go, there's my review of it. Colour you gullible. It's jokes on the internet, nobody knows. The railroad bed, thinking about tracks. I've heard that Z scale close to 6mm. Anyone on this? I'm not sure, Dave. There'll be charts on the if you Google it, there'll be charts somewhere that'll tell you best scales of railroad stuff for wargaming stuff. That's how I found out about. I think it's HO scale for 15mm is a good match, or TT scale, which is a bit more obscure, but it still exists. They're pretty close, or as close as a gnat's tit anyway. Set gauge is a bit bigger, 11200 or so. 12200. Oh, okay. I suppose it depends what look you're going for, really, doesn't it? But there'll be other people who sell 6mm scale railroad track anyway. I would look at somewhere like Magister Militum. They probably have a whole raft of 6mm railroad tracks, and there'll be other places as well out there. They'll be at them. I just took a figure with me. Blotts do some 6mm railroad. I just took a figure with me for comparison. The shop owner was a bit bemused when he brought 4 footers straight. I can imagine. What did you say? It's for a very small setup. When I was a kid, it was always a hobby I wanted to get into, was railroad modelling, or railway modelling, I suppose, in the UK. And it still appeals to me now. I still like looking at the scenes. Some of the ones in the York Railway Museum are fantastic. I used to like them as well. They used to have them at the Rotherham Show. There's a local club here in Rotherham. They'd all bring their train sets down. It's always nice to see. There's lots going on usually, isn't there, on those little dioramas? Lots of attention to detail. I mean, I even found some tennis courts, because I was looking for tennis courts for Singapore the other day. I'm still going to make my own, but what was saying? Has our Majesty stopped taking new orders yet? I doubt it. They're probably still taking money in. Z scale is 1 to 200, 6 mil is 128, 500 if anyone out there is on experience. Hello, James Johnson. I told him it was Tory cuts. Oh, privatisation. Oriskne, Jim here. Okay, afternoon, Jim. Alex, now to be known as the other brother Ken. Well, I haven't got a setup, but it would be nice. It'd be interesting to do it as a wargamer because of all the modelling techniques that we use. But yeah, I was looking at these HO scale tennis courts just to see if I could get some, but my god, the price of them, they were like 50 quid. 30 quid if you didn't want the figures with them, 4 figures. And bloody hell, somebody's making a lot of money out of this stuff. And they weren't great as well, that's the other thing. They have a very specific look, don't they, railway models? Excuse me. You know, wargaming and military modelling kind of strives a little bit for realism, whereas railway modelling kind of doesn't. It's almost a cartoony kind of look. In the whole, I'm saying here. Yes, in case you're wondering. Another shirt with Savage. Good stuff. I'm glad your shirts are being put to use, Dave, for scenery purposes. Yeah. Just doing the putties on those fellas. Not that anybody will ever see them. Oh, look at them. If you think wargaming is expensive, don't look at model trains. Yeah, exactly. It's ridiculous. And a bridge built from pizza boxes and filler. Good stuff. You want to be watching your cholesterol level with all those pizza boxes, Dave. That's my warning for you. Don't get ill in the pursuit of bridges. Where we are. My dad and I got into railroad modelling briefly. Fortunately, my dad builds all his own buildings, helped with the other terrain and figures. Used to do model railways, and World War II layouts out to exist. I thought about doing a World War II era German layout. Yeah, that'd be interesting. Have a load of troops and stuff on a troop train. There's that place called Miniature Wonderland, isn't it? I think it's in Germany somewhere. Can't remember where exactly. But that's a massive train set. Your dad went for the old American West motif. Well, it's classic. It's a classic. Evening, Richard. Good to have you on board. Don't worry, you're late to the party, but the party is still going on. For a bit, anyway. You missed the earlier discussion, so you'll have to go back and watch from the start. We're now discussing model railways. And I am painting British soldiers. Where we are? World War II railroad, lots of flack. Got to swat away the P-47s. I wish I remembered to write down paint recipes. I know my water is similar to Yorkshire's, but not quite. Should write down notes, write them down. Yeah, I saw the price of 2 length and Z scale, tenner for just bare rails, crikey. Well, you see, James, that's why you should always have a little notebook and write things in the notebook like I do here, so then when I come back to it I know what I used. It's a nice simple solution. Miniature Land is in Hamburg. There you go. A bit pricey, but worth the time. It's a shame because I was in Hamburg several years ago. I didn't know about it. I used to exhibit my layout across Yorkshire shows my dad. Harrogate, Barnsley, Sluthout shows. If you mention model railways 3 times, you someone can. Again, miniature Wargaming Warriors, AK Wood, blah blah. Yes. Well, I think I've mentioned it quite a few times. Well, thankfully, he hasn't appeared. It seems to have disappeared off into the ether anyway. Oh, I'm nearly there with these fellas. I'm glad you made me stick around. There's very little left to do on them. And then they will be appearing on a table near me soon. So yeah, I'm completely off subject. I've got some plans this weekend to start recording the Singapore half pint sized campaign that's in the latest WSS magazine. I'm going to do that. It's only four games, and I've got a fortnight's leave coming up starting this weekend, so I thought I shall get some filming done. A few battle reports put together, a nice little linked campaign. So that should be good. I've still got to finish off the What a Cowboy campaign as well. I got to number 4 out of 6, and I haven't gone back to it yet. I haven't had a chance, so I might finish that off as well. There's only 2 more things for that, and it's such a great game as well. Really good. So it's well worth cracking out again. See what the Snaggletooth boys are up to. You don't suppose there's any chance anyone knows track gauges Vicks versus Jackson railing at 1830-63? Is this is your Google broken, Dave? Is that what this is? Because I can guarantee you somebody out there knows what it is, but probably not one of the 29 people that's watching this. Learning about fem printing, FDM, experiment with different resins in my other printer too. I've emailed the American Battlefield Trust to see if they know. Well, they might get back to you. Richard, actually, speaking of printing, I don't know how big your printer could be, but if I throw some money your way for a print, would you be able to do me a Singaporean house? If the answer is yes, then if you could drop me a message, email me, because I'm looking for somebody to print me a Singaporean house. Wardrobe, evening Todd. Hey all, good to see you all. Did you get a take for your 30s to the Singapore houses? There you go. That's exactly what I'm asking. If you think TMP is bad, don't dare venture on the model rail forums. No, I can imagine. I can get an STL from it, from the WOW buildings, but actually getting one printed out is the problem. I asked Paul over at Sabotage and he said his build plate was too big, and also he's supposed to be on rest at the moment as well anyway. Just cross messages. Yes, there we go. Well, if it's something you could help me out with, I mean, like I say, I'd be happy to pay for time and printing. Because I did ask Adam over at Tabletop Studios to give me a price for designing and printing one, and it was a little bit too expensive for one single building, really. That was my problem. Alright, Wanna Be Painter, thanks for watching, and I shall see ya. James says, finish up some Israeli Your Centurion tonight, today, 15mm, some upcoming 50th anniversary Yom Kippur Wargaming. Quick Google says it was 5-foot gauge, so said gauge wouldn't work, be too bad. I got to tour my first Battlefield Trust site, P Ridge, and I was blown away, strangely impacted emotionally by the experience. Be visiting more. Good stuff. They are. Battlefield visits are definitely worthwhile. Look forward to seeing that. Evening all, Glendower. Got to go now. I have to get up really early tomorrow morning. Well, I'm just about to sign off anyway, so happy to help. Will email. Thank you, Richard. It's a bit of a quick turnaround if that's the case. Well, I'll check the emails, so don't worry. I'm scared from child and next friend to transporting, worse than fishing. Best 3D printer, friends, 3D printer. There is that. Right, chaps, I'm going to sign out there, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for the input at the start of this. That was very interesting discussion. I've got some good ideas out of it. Helped me put a few ideas into my mind as well. So thanks for that. This is a two-way conversation, this two-way street. And I've also finished these British off, despite gabbling on for a long time. So I will say good night tonight, and thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next. Well, I'll probably I think I'm around next week, next Tuesday, for another stream, so we'll have a good one then, and good night all, and stay safe.